The Cellcast is recorded in front of a live streaming audience.
Hello and welcome to another episode of The Cellcast. Joining me today is a man who, well, he just grew a pair of wings. Daylet, what did you do now? The transmogrifier got fixed? Well, we're going to have to lay down some ground rules later.
It's like, oh, come on, really? I thought I had a stressful day today at work. Come on.
Well,
At least I'm not breathing fire.
thankfully, yes, because then we'd have to get some new equipment. That's exactly why you didn't do it, because you couldn't afford new microphones or a new mixer board, but you can afford whatever goes into that transmogrifier unit of yours. Great.
At least we have home insurance.
Fly me to the moon.
You're not kidding. Why, thank you. See if I can tuck these things in. Pop. Ow. No, forget it. Sweet nibbles. Why, thank you. Let me introduce our co-host, a man who is just having a craving for charcoal for some reason. Welcome, Drew.
Well, when you want that nice woody texture for your spicy foods. Actually, that doesn't make any sense
Either. It's like woody and charcoal.
Well, I mean, charcoal is a lot of times made from wood.
Okay, fair.
But I couldn't. I lost the joke. Let's be honest. I lost the joke.
Fair. That works.
So, yeah, tonight we have our second patron pick from Edwin Gonzalez. He was in that movie is Firebreather. Unfortunately, due to scheduling conflicts and the fact that he was busy, he was not able to join us tonight. But we are, and even though by all technical accounts he's not a patron, he did pay for it, so that's why we're still doing it.
Exactly.
So
thank you again.
You would like to do the same as Edwin here and force us to review a film
within reason.
You can donate to us $10 on Patreon, and we've got 2 spots left for this year.
Yeah.
So get on that, people. Anyway, tonight we are reviewing, like I said, we are reviewing Firebreather. Well, it's what appears to be it appears to be a pilot.
Yes.
For a TV show. That unfortunately the TV show never came. Mm-hmm. That's my guess anyway.
Yes.
That's what this feels like. This feels like episode 1.
It is.
But and according to Amazon, it was episode 1. There just was never an episode 2.
Yes, it's a very interesting pilot.
That is very true.
Or now they've designated a movie.
I'm sure they aired as a Cartoon Network original film.
Yes.
Firebreather. In a world where kaiju and humans fought 15 years later, one half-breed. I don't know where I'm going with this.
That's why you put a script out.
You know what? I may do this for the summary.
Okay.
But we'll see. So yeah, why don't we go ahead and jump into this thing?
Certified fresh and spoiler-free.
So this is, of course, my first viewing of this film. I have seen this. This was at a time when I wasn't watching Cartoon Network for whatever reason.
Yeah.
Probably just life was busy and I just never got to that channel.
Fair.
When you get right down to it, because I was still where I could watch it, I just didn't. So yeah, I know of this because I remember seeing like DVDs at Walmart back when I worked in the electronics department. So this didn't come out of the blue, but I honestly had no idea what this was until I hit play. Other than I figured it was a kid turning into a superhero film.
Yeah.
I could kind of tell that from the cover.
Yeah.
And the fact that the name kind of sounds like a superhero name. But yeah. It's not a bad film. It's got a lot of potential. And I say it that way because, like I said, this feels like a pilot for a TV show that they would have eventually, developed a lot of this other stuff out. And possibly, since it is based on a comic, is it based on a comic or was a comic made after it?
It's based after a comic.
Right. Obviously, this stuff does eventually get developed.
Yes.
But here, it's all still doing the setup part of it. And I think that might be what I would consider the most disappointing part of it. But other than that, it was a fun, enjoyable film. And, honestly, I think people should ought to give it a shot, just with the understanding of what it is. What's your thoughts on it?
Spoiler-free thoughts on this film. I wasn't the same. I wasn't exactly in the same boat as you were. I kind of watched cartoons periodically throughout, in the 2010s and obviously in the 2020s. So I kind of kept up with what was going on, and I saw a preview for this or snippets here and there. I was like, I'm not really interested. It sounded cool. I just never got around to watching it, and I totally forgot about it until I watched until be like when you mentioned that it was a patron pick, then it was like, oh, okay. I had no idea what it was, and I downloaded it on Amazon because it's cheaper to watch it than to buy it than rent it.
There wasn't an option.
No,
right.
That's true.
This movie was cheaper to buy than Road to El Dorado last week was to rent.
Yes, agreed.
In standard definition.
Wow. Yeah, so I watched it, and the wonderful thing about this film, I was so surprised. I was very surprised because I had literally had no idea what it was. I watched the first, the prologue, the beginning of the film.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, this is interesting. Okay, they're going there, and then you get into the film proper.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, that's this film. This is that short trailer I saw all those years ago, and I was, like you said, it has a ton of potential, but obviously it was a pilot that didn't get greenlit.
Yeah,
and all we have is this one episode, and again, there was so much potential left on the table to what they could do, but I'm kind of happy what we got, even though I think it would have been fun to see where the story would have gone.
Yeah,
but that's it was fun. It was it's not exactly my cup of tea, but it was a interesting film.
All right. Well, then why don't we go ahead and jump into the spoiler-filled section of our review of Firebreather. The following is a spoiler-filled review for the film Firebreather. Listener discretion is advised. Firebreather was directed by Peter Chung, who also directed the short film The Chronicles of Riddick: Dark Fury. And it was written by Phil Hester, James Krieg, and Andy Kuhn. Getting into the cast, we've got Jesse Head playing Duncan Rosenblatt. And in something called So Little Time, he played Larry Slotnick. Tia Texada, or Tejada probably, since it's Spanish, played Isabel. And in something called Third Watch, she played Maritza Cruz. Now, here's the one you might recognize. Dante Bosco was the voice of Ken Rogers. He was Rufio in Hook.
Oh, that makes sense. Now
Yeah.
we're gonna,
Now you can hear it.
Yeah, now it's like, kill the lawyer.
Rufio. Amy Davidson was the voice of Jenna. And in the television series 8 Simple Rules for Dating My Teenage Daughter, she played Carrie Hennessy.
Yes, I love that. I love that show, and it was so sad when the main actor passed away.
Kevin Michael Richardson was the voice of Belloc.
Oh my gosh, that
and
voice.
he was Goro in Mortal Kombat 95.
Got it.
Josh Keaton was the voice of Troy, our bully.
Oh gosh, too much. This is bullying.
And he was in an episode of a television show me and you just watched a couple weeks ago. No, it was last week. Last week we saw him in an episode of X-Men 97.
Oh, who did he play?
Captain America.
Oh, okay. He played Cap. Okay.
Yeah.
Not the MCU Cap, but Cap from the comics.
Well, Earth. I don't remember what this Earth number is. But
whichever Earth number, it doesn't matter.
Number it is. Animated series. Well, let's call it Fox Animated Series.
Yeah.
X-Men. Anyway.
Marvel Animation.
Reed Diamond was the voice of Barnes. and he played Mike Kellerman in Homicide: Life on the Street. Homicide: Life on the Street.
Repeat that name again.
Mike Kellerman.
Who did he play?
No, Mike Kellerman is who he played.
Oh, okay.
The guy's name was Reed Diamond.
Reed Diamond. Okay.
And so in Homicide: Life on the Street.
I love that show. It was so good when I was a kid. Again, you're kind of punching into those shows that were part of my childhood, the movies and whatever. It's so good.
Well, punching more into what I know you saw as a kid. Dana Delaney, the voice was the voice of Margaret Rosenblatt, aka the Mother.
Yes.
Andrea Beaumont in Batman: Mask of the
Phantasm. Yes.
Kingdom Hearts connections. How many do we have?
Ooh.
It's a 2010 film.
Mm-hmm. I would probably say...
So it's concurrent with that. So it may not just be a cameo. It may just be this was another job for them.
Yeah. 7?
No.
Lower or higher?
Lower.
4.
Yes.
Okay.
Kevin Michael Richardson.
Of course.
Who was Belloc.
Mm-hmm.
In Kingdom Hearts played Sebastian.
Okay.
Blackguard A. And Captain Gontu.
Ah.
Because he's Captain Gontu.
I got
and Lilo and Stitch.
Gotcha. Yes. I love his voice.
Josh Keaton. Was Troy. Who played Troy in this?
Yes.
He is young Hercules.
Really?
In the in Kingdom Hearts Birth by Sleep, which
really
went to the past. Well, it took place before. So I just want to point out, and I did not realize this prior to this. Mm-hmm. Kingdom Hearts, for the voice of Hercules, used both the voices of Hercules from that movie. Got their actors, Sean Astin and Josh Keaton, to actually do those roles. They didn't get that lucky with everybody.
Gotcha.
Frank Welker was the voice of Kaiju 1.
Kaiju 1.
Well, the next thing is they had names, but those names are not listed on IMDb. And I don't know which one was which.
Oh, okay.
So I'm going, and here's the other thing. IMDb actually lists both this one and the next one as Dragon. So Dragon 1 and Dragon 2.
Right.
They don't call them dragons in this movie. They call them Kaiju.
Yeah.
They are dragons in the comic, apparently.
Yeah.
So I am calling them Kaiju 1.
And Kaiju 2.
And Kaiju 2. So Frank Welker playing Kaiju 1 was also Experiment 221 Sparky. Mm-hmm. And here's a weird little addition. Every other time I've looked up Frank Welker, it only listed Sparky as his Kingdom Hearts role.
Yeah.
He is now listed for another one. That it just all changed in the last couple weeks, and it changed on every Kingdom Hearts game that the character appeared in.
Really?
Abu.
He played up. Well, that makes sense.
It makes sense. But they never, if you go back and listen to other episodes, I never mentioned him playing Abu.
You never did.
I don't think he plays Abu in Aladdin, the movie.
I thought he did.
He plays the tiger. He
played Raja.
He played Raja. Yeah,
he played Raja.
I don't think he played Abu. I would have to go double check.
I'd be like, I'm almost convinced he did because
and that would make sense. And why, if he did,
yeah,
that would make sense. And why that would not have shown up before if it was like archival audio sound effects that they just reused. Because honestly, that does make sense for like a character who is like barely in Kingdom Hearts.
Right. You get like squeaks and quacks and
I'm sure it's like we just reuse stuff. I mean, that's what they did for young Simba. What's that actor's name? Jonathan Taylor Thomas.
Yeah.
They just threw Jonathan Taylor Thomas's audio in there and said, okay, I guess we'll pay him a couple dollars. Mm-hmm. But that was an interesting change. But lastly, Paul St. Peter.
Paul St. Peter
was the voice of Kaiju 2.
Okay.
He plays Xemnas in Kingdom Hearts.
Okay, who's Xemnas?
Okay. How would you like a little bit of Kingdom Hearts lore? Here's some untangling. Here's a mini episode of what I used to call Untangling Kingdom Hearts.
Okay.
I say used to because it's kind of on indefinite hiatus now. So, you remember how I've mentioned a lot of times a character named Lord Xehanort?
Yes.
Who, that role I'm convinced is cursed because
yes,
it killed Leonard Nimoy. It killed whoever the second guy was, who was a British actor whose name I can't remember. And now Christopher Lloyd's playing him. I pray he survives at least until later. No, I pray he survives. He's never. The role's probably never going to come back up again, admittedly, but yeah. So,
well, didn't Christopher Lee do it?
No, Christopher Lee played a different character.
Oh, okay.
And he only played him in one game, and then it got switched out to somebody else because Christopher Lee... There's actually a funny story about Christopher Lee playing that role.
Okay.
But that's neither here nor there.
Yeah.
But Xehanort, through some wibbly-wobbly, tommy-wimey stuff...
Yes.
Got part of his... he merged with another character, and that character was that character named Terra, who we called who, just to make sure he was separate from character-wise, we called Terra Xehanort.
Yes.
That character changed his name when he got to another world, calling himself Ansem, because he stole actually the name of the king of that world. Neither here nor there.
Got it.
I'm spoiling stuff, by the way.
No.
And he was experimenting on the Heartless, and he decided to turn himself into a Heartless, which is the main villain of Kingdom Hearts 1.
Yes.
The thing is, when a Heartless is created, a Nobody is also created because of stuff.
It's a remnant.
Right. And that one ended up calling himself Xemnas because it's Ansem. It's the anagram of Ansem with an X added.
Yeah.
Much like every other character who's and he's ends up being the leader of Organization 13. So a lot of other characters, including Roxas, which is an anagram of Sora with an X, are also in that. That was your miniature Untangling Kingdom Hearts that I probably made more confusing than it actually was. But basically, he was DLC in Kingdom Hearts 1, an extra fighter that was added during the final mechs. He was the main villain of Kingdom Hearts 2, and he shows back up in Kingdom Hearts 3.
Oh.
So he was a bad guy, and he has this really deep, dark voice.
Cool.
Anyway, what do we got in info and stuff?
All right, so info and stuff. You're able to watch it, or primarily buy it on Amazon Video.
It's about the only place we found it.
Only place. In high definition for $2.99. So you can watch it anywhere.
I went ahead and sprang for the extra $1 for the $2.99 and watched it in HD because I thought, why not?
Yeah, exactly. It's an extra buck. So IMDb has it a 6 out of 10. Rotten Tomatoes has a 68 score. Production was Pister Productions and Cartoon Network Studios. Distributed by Cartoon Network. Its runtime was 69 minutes. Release date was November 24th, 2010. There was no box office ever since it was a pilot.
And a straight-to-TV film.
And a straight-to-TV film. But it did get a home release. The film was released on DVD and Blu-ray on March 22nd, 2011. Bonus features included 2D animated tests, deleted scenes, animatics, and visual developmental featurette. Yeah, you can stream it, but you can't stream it anywhere, but you can purchase it.
That's about the gist of it.
Yep. Now there is no.
You think it would be on Max since it was created by Cartoon Network, which is owned by Warner Brothers, which owns Max. But no,
it's not.
It's okay. They probably delete it anyway.
Probably.
Release Coyote versus Acme. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. Come on, do better. All right, so that is all I have. Now, grant it's based off of a. I'm losing my.
Image comic.
It's based off an Image Comics that came out in 2008, 2007, 2008, and apparently it has a crossover with Invincible.
Yeah.
Yeah, and apparently Duncan is a cameo character in the Invincible series.
Yeah, I have not watched it yet, but
yeah,
that's cool. It makes sense.
Yeah.
I don't know how Image Comics works in its multiverse, so anyway.
It is pretty good with it. Anyways, so that's all I have for info and stuff.
All right, getting into the summary. On the last day of the war between humans... Sorry, I did say I would do it this way. In a world where on the last day of the war between humans and kaiju, a human woman named Margaret Rosenblatt and Rosenblatt, a human woman named Margaret Rosenblatt, and Belloc, the dragon-like kaiju king, fall in love and become parents to a hybrid son named Duncan. 16 years later, Margaret and Duncan are moving into a new house as he prepares to attend a new school. However, Duncan fears that his kaiju-like appearance and abilities will make him a target for bullies. At school, he quickly develops a crush on a popular girl, Jenna, and makes an enemy out of her ex-boyfriend, Troy Adams. In biology class, Duncan befriends fellow outcasts Kenny Rogers and Isabel, the latter who happens to be a kaiju-obsessed fangirl and develops a crush on him. Isabel, you need to go listen to Monster Island Film Vault, that's all I'm saying.
Exactly. Self-exploit.
Later that evening, Troy's friends break into Jenna's locker and steal the money she was holding for the school's homecoming. The next day, Duncan meets Blitz Barnes, an agent of Metcalf, who is working undercover as a gym teacher, and takes him to Dr. Pytel at the Metcalf base, after discovering his ability to breathe fire. Later, while Duncan and Troy are cleaning the cafeteria, Isabel tells Duncan about a party that everybody will be going to, and he agrees to go in hopes of impressing Jenna. At the party, Troy tries to tell Jenna about Duncan until Troy's father comes and drags him back home for being out while grounded. Duncan and Jenna begin to form a friendship, but she abruptly leaves after he talks about Troy's father. Isabel finds him and tells him that Jenna walked off because she had lost her own father. However, Belloc arrives looking for Duncan, taking him to his lair in the desert and revealing his desire to have him succeed him as king of the kaiju. I think Godzilla would like to have a few words about that. Then Belloc presents Duncan as his heir to the other kaiju and throws him into a lava pit. Duncan emerges in his kaiju form and faints from the transition. Waking in the desert, Duncan encounters Kenny, who tells him that Isabel told him about Belloc being his father and asks why he was at the party. Duncan replies that Isabel invited him, causing Kenny to become jealous. Back home with his mother, she assures him that the move and deal with Metcalf was to let him live a normal life and eventually go to college. Back in school, and she said he will be going to college.
Yes,
he does that.
No
that's
ands in their butts.
Later, I just jumped way off. Hang on. Back in school, Duncan is surprised that everyone except Troy now treats him like a celebrity. Isabel reveals that it's because she told them about him saving them from Belloc. Meanwhile, Jen discovers a red crystal in her locket that, unbeknownst to her, was gifted by Duncan to sell and pay for homecoming. Later, Isabel attempts to approach Duncan, but loses her chance when he and Jenna meet up again. He asks Jenna to be his date for homecoming, and she agrees. Afterwards, Blitz takes Duncan into the desert to locate the kaiju lair, but they fall under attack. Duncan almost kills the kaiju, but refuses to do so before Belloc surrenders. That night, Duncan, Jenna, Kenny, Isabel, and Margaret go to the dance together. As Jenna and Duncan dance together, Isabella watches them despite Kenny's attempts to get her to dance with him. However, after Troy and Jenna are elected homecoming king and queen and go on stage, Isabel romantically dances with Duncan and raging Kenny. He claims to Duncan that Isabel only likes him because of Belloc being his father, causing him to storm out. As Isabel reprimands Kenny, two kaiju named Abaddon and Astaroth, that's who those names were. Mm-hmm. As Abaddon and Astaroth wreak havoc, Duncan fights them so his friends can get to safety. The two kaiju attempt to kill Blitz, but Duncan manifests wings to save him from falling off a cliff. Margaret and Jenna head off in a plane to get help from Belloc, who helps Duncan fight the kaiju. Duncan, refusing to kill them, causes an avalanche to fall, freezing them solid. Subsequently, Belloc allows himself to be recaptured and carried away to be closer to Duncan and Jenna, who had earlier realized that it was Duncan who had left the red gem. Apologizes to Duncan for her earlier behavior, and Duncan flies off on his new wings. Getting into the trivia for this, I only really have one main thing that we haven't already mentioned yet.
Right.
The CGI software used for this film is the same one they used to make Star Wars: The Clone Wars.
That actually makes sense.
Yeah, it kind of has that appearance. So, yeah, as I mentioned, this is actually a patron pick. And since our patron, Edwin Gonzalez, was unable to appear on the show tonight, I did get a couple of notes from him. Firstly, he says, it's like American Dragon meets Invincible. Do you know what American Dragon is?
Yes.
It's a Disney Channel show about a kid who turns into a dragon.
Yeah.
And fights crime.
Yeah.
Like you do.
Yes.
He says, I heard a review about how Isabel is a better match than Jenna. That if they redid it, they could combine the characters into one. Duncan's mom and dad not going to even think how that works. Still, he loves her fierceness. That is how they fell in love. Apparently, in the comics, it was more of a staying at his dad's for the weekend sort of thing. Kenny Rogers.
I still love that name.
Yeah. How is he going to stay enrolled? Not Kenny, but how is Duncan going to stay enrolled to school? The government group, Metcalf, whatever the organization is, either paying off or using some fancy laws. I've been reading the comic recently, and basically they showed off some stuff to the principal, and he was fine. Apparently, there is a teacher in here who is definitely dead. I'm sorry, but that woman is dead. I don't even remember this moment, but you know what? I probably agree. He said there was a fan theory or hope that he returned for Invincible Season 2 with his voice actor being there. I think I accidentally cut something out here. But yeah, fun fact, in the comics, Invincible and Firebreather Duncan were a team in a short-lived miniseries. Mm-hmm. And then he said, hey, is it fine though if I leave some of my own comments? He says, I got this joke. In comparison to the other complicated father-son relationships in Image Comics or in comics, this is nothing, I guess. Mm-hmm. He says, in the comic, it turned out Duncan ended up going to the prom with Isabel, and it turned out he had a full dragon half-brother.
Huh.
And it turns out the dragons are aliens. Huh. Belloc basically being a Tolkien dragon. In the comics, and comic-wise, Duncan has only 4 fingers, which leads to a nice flipping the bird joke.
Okay.
And that's what I've got from Edwin. What are your thoughts on, what's your first like for this film?
My first thought is like, it's the very interesting premise of a show. And what I understand in the comic, it's a little different. It's got a little, it's an adaptation of a comic.
Yeah.
And me and a good friend of mine, Stevie, who was in the chat, thanks Stevie, by the way, about adaptations and how people get their knickers in a knot about, it's like, well, it's not like the comic, it's not like this, it's not like this. Be like, it's an adaptation. Be like you take the source material and you adapt it to something else.
Yeah.
And you make it be like, either you try to keep it as close as you can or make it an homage of what you're trying to do.
Right.
But this does, what I understand, a fairly good job, because I think the writer was somehow involved with this. I think I might be wrong, but it's an interesting premise. It has a lot of potential. If like, I don't know how long the comic ran for, like a year and a half. Mm-hmm. But had all these very interesting little plots here and there, and how, you know, Duncan and his abilities and his newfound abilities and his relationship with his dad and relationship with his mom, which is like, it's like, how that worked, I have no idea. I don't want to discuss it either.
I don't want to know.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm just going to assume that that dragon can somehow, for a short bits of time, turn into a human and move on.
Yes, move on. But I enjoyed the premise. I enjoy where they were going with it. Sad that it got cut short. They may have done some really, really good things. Now, granted, probably the budget would have been cut in half because this is the pilot.
Yeah.
And so you would have probably lost a lot of the flavor and the texture that you already had in the show. But I enjoy the premise of this movie or pilot.
Yeah.
What is your first like?
My first like for this is the fact that even in his quote-unquote human form, Duncan has scales.
Yes, he does.
And it's very obvious. Like, it's obviously just a different texture file probably, but I look and go, it's nice that it gives him that look that's like, okay, yeah, he's not human.
Yeah,
he's got this other thing in there, and yeah, he's got a kaiju form that we will see later. But I mean, this is like your proof positive. It's like, yeah, this is he is definitely part of this other thing, and they could have easily just had him. That's the thing. They could have easily just gave him the Oompa Loompa skin color that he does have. Yes. And just called it a day. Yes. And it would have been fine. But they went that little extra mile.
They did.
And gave him a scaly texture. And I really, really appreciate that. That little extra bit of care. What's your second like?
My second like is like chew on a cracker.
I did get him when he wasn't paying attention. Or when he wasn't ready, I should say.
Sly dog. Correction, Sly cat. The character design, actually. There's a lot of really good character design. Like, even though the models they're used, they're not bad. They're a little stiff here and there. But because of the design of the characters, they're really good. It's like when you talk about soldiers or whatever, they're using these very interesting designed armor. It's not nothing you've ever seen before. Kaiju kind of look like they're just like you could swap hands and heads out and it's the exact same body.
That would save on toy design.
Agreed. But when it comes to how they Duncan is designed, it's amazing design. From, like you said, like the way they put detail into his scaling. Definitely when he his updated form, you get more of that. You get what's the love interest's name? What's her name? Jenna.
Jenna. Is it the prom? Are you talking about the homecoming queen, or are you talking about the kaiju fangirl?
No.
Because they're both love interests.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, Jenna's design, I freaking loved her design because it was be like the girl next door, the girl that every guy wants to date. Yeah, kind of design, because it's a very appealing design. It's like, okay, this is very nice, very appealing, appealing design, and could sometimes be like you have some TV movies or pilots, whatever, and the characters are not appealing at all to look at for the most part sometimes, except for like your main character. Now, granted, this is based on our comic, so you have more of this. Everybody looks like they're a supermodel in some capacity, except for the bullies, and that was kind of I enjoyed that aspect when they kind of take that prototypical the main bullies, like the big jacked up guy, Troy, his
Captain America.
Yeah. As long as never mind. He does play with a basketball. Never mind. But I love the design overall of the characters. I thought they were great. There was a lot of definitely when we were talking about Damon, Duncan.
Damien would have been a good choice too.
Yeah,
all things considered.
That's true.
But yeah, Duncan, and you consider the rest of his all his middle names.
Oh yeah,
are all the names of really bad demon devils.
Yeah, true. Yeah, so the character designs, I really enjoyed those. I was like, wow, this is pretty good. This is actually really good design work. What is yours?
My second like is, despite the fact that when I started this, I was thinking, okay, this is very cookie cutter. I get kind of what's going on here. I expected for whatever reason, I expected very quickly to kind of just lose interest, which I would have hated to do, considering this is a patron pick movie. And but honestly, even though it does have those cliches, it did kind of grab me fairly quickly.
It did.
Or round about the time he actually breathed fire, I was like, oh, that's why it's named this. And then it's like at that point, it's like, okay, that's where the story actually started.
Yeah.
Everything else was just your standard new kid in high school cliche thing. That obviously this guy's a little weird because he's got a secret, and it's like, how do you have a secret? He's orange and has scales. That's not. And people are already going to assume this guy's a weirdo.
Which oddly they don't, which is like, okay.
That is a thing that throws me. So I liked how it was able to grab me and actually tell a fairly interesting story, even though in many ways I have seen this story, just not I've seen like multiple versions of the story, just not remixed in quite this way.
Yeah, agreed.
And I am actually kind of sad that there was not a series that was able to grow out of this.
Agreed.
Because this is actually a fairly decent opening. This would have been an interesting show, I think. So, yeah, I'm kind of sad we didn't get anything out of this. But, yeah, I appreciate how, for what little time this thing really had, because this thing's only, like, 50 minutes?
98 minutes.
It's 98? Mm-hmm. I thought it was shorter than that.
One sec. No, 69 minutes. Sorry.
69 minutes. I remember because I was thinking of that 200 movie thing we're in and thinking, crud, this doesn't actually fall in the rules. But yeah, I wish we were able to get a little bit more of it, but it did actually pull me in and set up. It made me want more, which is what you should be doing for a pilot episode of a TV show. So yeah, I appreciate that it made me want more. Mm-hmm. Your third?
My third. The parkour scenes. The scene where Duncan is being chased by Troy and his idiotic gang. Mm-hmm. And again, the bully aspect of this show, this TV movie pilot, whatever, is so cliche. It's not even funny. But I enjoyed the amount of camera work and the way our Duncan moved throughout, like seamlessly throughout the entire movie. It was great. I enjoyed definitely going back to my point of the parkour scene where he's trying to outrun him, and then he gets cornered and he blows a fireball on him or something.
Yeah,
but it was really enjoyable. I was like, wow, this is really good because they're using good camera angles. They're using different approaches to camera, and it wasn't this standard paint by numbers. It was they were trying to do something different. They were trying to do something. They were trying to grab your attention, which, like any good pilot, I think. I don't know, like I said, probably it was more the ratings and the viewership wasn't there, but. And I agree with you. Be like if it had a little more attention, a little more. Had a little more attraction base to it. Be like, this could have been a pretty good series.
Yeah.
But so the parkour scene where Duncan is trying to outrun the bullies, I thought was very well done because they're utilizing the entire set for it. And now, granted, they're kind of reusing scenes because they're just they're redressing scenes. They're redressing scenes, obviously, in a 3D environment, but using that 3D environment to its maximum potential. And I enjoy that because there's so often you'll have scenes where it's just flat shot, nothing artistic, nothing creative. It's just bland, boring paint by numbers. This is actually done very well. It has a level of artistic talent behind it, and it's done well. So that's my third.
My third like for this actually is Jenna.
Okay.
In nearly every other type of high school superhero show, you always have that character who is the female bully, for lack of a better term.
Okay.
And Jenna, when I first saw her, I was assuming that's who this character was going to be. Obviously, he'd fall in love with her. She'd be a big jerk. She would be the villain who kicked the dork to the curve, kind of a thing, and then you'd have your love triangle between Duncan, Isabel, and Kenny. That's honestly where I thought that was going to go.
Okay.
And it really and it felt like it was feeding that for a while, up to including the fact where he stupidly gives her the jewel, which I'm thinking there's more to that jewel than you're letting on. He's going to need that back at some point. Because I bet you he can only give that to the person he really loves, kind of a thing.
Possibly.
That's kind of what I was expecting there. It's probably actually his heart.
Maybe. I agree with you there.
But so I thought, okay, that's I thought that was going to be, and he'd have to get it back so he could give it to his true love, and Kenny would be left out in the cold because that's how this kind of thing goes. Or they'd introduce another girl for him to fall in love with in season 2. You know, that's kind of how these things usually go.
Agreed.
And the minute Astaroth and Abaddon, or however you say his name, Abaddon, I don't remember, start attacking the school, and Duncan goes off to fight him, and his mother is running off to the super secret spaceship hidden in the school bus, and Jenna follows her and says, "Please let me help." It's like, oh, you're actually the much more rare rich girl who actually has a heart of gold, who actually has to who's in love with the dork. You're that one. You're the princess in love with the dork. That's what you are. You don't see that often for whatever reason for that character, especially when you already have a dorky love interest that's already there that you've got your set up for a love triangle. Granted, you still get a bit of that love triangle in this, but and I would assume if this had gotten a first season, that would have gotten worked out. But yeah, I really like that Jenna is instead of being the what's a good word? There's a word I want to use, but this is a family friendly show.
Gotcha.
Let's say witch. Instead of her being the witch, she's the princess. I'm like, okay, I can work with this. This would have been interesting.
Yeah.
Especially since she takes to flying and the jet and the suits and all the other stuff with Metcalf like very quickly. She could very easily fit into that, be that kind of a support member for Duncan's team, and maybe in the comics that's what happens. But I was, like I said, I was not expecting it to go that way. But good night. It's like you actually took a character I was assuming I was supposed to hate and actually made her into an interesting character.
Yeah, I agree.
We don't get to see much from her yet, but
right.
You know, that's the kind of thing that would open up once he starts getting to know her.
Yeah, agreed.
So
agreed.
Yeah, Jenna was my third like.
Okay,
but we got to talk dislikes.
Agreed.
What's your first?
My first dislike, if I can get back into my notes. How to say it? It's a failed pilot. It's a failed pilot. It's very well done, but when you have you can't attract an audience, be like you've done something wrong. Now, granted, it could have been they premiered it on a bad day. Maybe they premiered on a Wednesday night or something like that. And
more than likely, I assume this would have been like a Friday or Saturday night thing, because I think that's usually when they would do something like that.
Right.
And it could just be wrong time of year. Could be they didn't put much effort into promoting it. I don't know.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, it's just again, like in my first, like, it has an interesting premise. It had so much potential, but it just didn't get the love and adoration that it should have. So it's sad to me that it didn't happen.
So my first dislike for this film, along with what you said, but I'll go with a different route. My first dislike is there is a certain cheapness to this film.
Okay, fair enough.
This is using the same software that Star Wars The Clone Wars used.
Yes. Now,
Star Wars The Clone Wars, and it's got sometimes, especially during season 1, it's got a little bit jank.
Yeah, a little crunch.
It's not bad jank.
Yeah.
It's the kind of thing that if you lean into it correctly, it can just be part of the style and can be forgiven. This is not that. This really kind of there are parts of this that kind of felt like we were watching an animatic for a
Agreed.
live action film where they had animated it on the quick just to get a general idea of where the action needed to be. Not really trying to go for a lot of good simulation. The cloth texture, the textures and the cloth simulation is stiff, like very stiff.
It is.
It's strange how the things I did not like about Star Wars: The Clone Wars when I first watched it. You know, the fact that the characters all feel wooden because they literally took Genndy Tartakovsky's designs that were designed for a 2D film, a television series, and tried to make them 3D, and it kind of works and kind of doesn't. Surprisingly, that art style worked with the CG a lot better than I gave it credit for.
Right.
Because seeing this, where it's obviously more fluid, where it's trying to have that more fluid look, there's so much that makes it look and go, like, for instance, in his kaiju form, he looks like he's wearing like Power Rangers armor, and not not in a good way.
I agree with you
it's
there.
Like, it looks like a Power Rangers villain. That's what it comes down to, and it's not in a good way.
Yeah, agreed.
It's like, okay, this kind of works, but you do look like you're wearing a rubber suit. I get that they're kaiju, but this doesn't really fit your art style, and it's not really moving very well. And when he does manifest those wings, no, I'm sorry. It was one of those little things. It's like it just does not work as well. It's those kind of moments where it's like, oh, that's 2010 television animation. And I'm saying that sounds like I'm being hard on it because, oh yeah, it's 2010 computer animation. We're not exactly talking like Pixar or we're not talking about movie stuff here, and I know that, but I'm sitting here thinking, 20 years before this, Mainframe Entertainment put out Reboot.
That's true.
Now, Reboot has, it's a product of its time too, but they leaned into that so much that it felt like it was an intended design. This does not lean into that. And that's probably this movie's biggest problem is it is not leaning into the jank, for lack of a better term, to make us go, okay, yeah, that's just part of how this works. It's part of how it's the art style they went with. Like I said, it works for Clone Wars. It doesn't really work here. Honestly, I think this would have done better as a 2D film, 2D animation.
Yeah, I agreed.
Yeah, I think it would have felt like, especially those opening shots, which are 2D. And granted, I may not want the whole thing in that exact art style, but you give me something that looks like it's evolved from that art style a little bit, and it's like, I would be there. They would go on to do Young Justice. Or heck, forget Young Justice, because that would have been after this. Look at stuff before this that was doing virtually the same thing in 2D, like Justice League and Teen Titans. Pretty much the entire DC animated library Bruce Timm did. I know that those weren't cheap shows.
Yeah.
But they looked good, and you could have hid a lot of the jank in that because we watched X-Men 92. They had a hard time animating that, and we know that, and it looked good. It looked, in some ways, it looks better than this. And I really do think it's because the 3D art style with their art direction, their art style and their animation style. That's what it comes to. Sorry, I have kind of been thinking this out loud.
Fair.
Their animation style and their art style do not mesh.
Agreed.
That's what it comes down to. That's the problem. The art style should have been able to mold into the jank of the software, and it didn't. And so it's why it looks cheap. Granted, it's probably not really cheap. It's just cheap is the best word I can come up for because there's a lot of effort here. Do not get me wrong.
Agreed.
But it's got a little. It's putting a magnifying glass on the jank.
Agreed.
For lack of a better term. And if they'd have merged that better and kind of made it work much more like how Star Wars: The Clone Wars does it, it would have done better, or just go 2D and you'll get the same type of feel, but with, you know, better looking animation probably in general. I don't know. I like I said, I kind of that entire dislike was kind of thought out loud as I was saying it. But
Fair. That happens.
what's your third dislike?
Second dislike.
Second dislike. Sorry.
The half-breed angle. Now, Grant, I understand this is from the comics. They wanted to adapt it faithfully. But, again, this is a Cartoon Network show. Mm-hmm. It's a kid's show. And I'm going to be like, I appreciate where they went with it, but I think it's like, couldn't you just... I understand it's the part of the premise. I get it. Maybe I was a little more thrown off. I was like, oh, really? You went there with this show? You went there? I understand. In a comic book, yeah, that kind of crap happens all the time.
Yeah.
But think Raven from Teen Titans or something like that.
So, are you specifically having an issue with him being a half human, half something else, or the fact that he's got a demon for a daddy?
No, not at all.
I say demon, I'm being metaphorical here.
Yeah. No, it's not more of that. It's more of that Cartoon Network, which is a children's TV program block, went with the direction of having a half-breed character, and you have to try to explain that to our audience.
So
in the most kiddish, subtlest way you can, but you really can't. So I found it just very. I was in one way I was kind of, it's okay, that's a bold move, but at the same time it's a bold move to do that, definitely with a kid's cartoon, but at the same time I'm like, oh, that's a little cringy. How are you gonna explain that? And it made me a little cringe, and so that's why I kind of brought it up. It was like, okay, this half-breed portion of it, not saying it's not like it's a comic, they do it all the time, but it's like trying to adapt something like that into a kid's cartoon. It's a little cringy.
So I have a theory. I have not read any interviews or anything like that.
Right.
Never mind. But my theory is, especially if this was initially made for cartoon, well, it was made for the comic book first. But maybe if the idea was, because this is around the time, they started trying to be more inclusive.
Yeah.
In terms of who characters were, backgrounds and such.
Yeah.
There are plenty of quote unquote, and I hate using this term with humans, but half one race, half another race.
Yeah.
Half breed does not sound like the right word I want to use here, because it sounds demeaning for like someone who's got a Mexican mother or an American father, or stuff like that.
Yeah, but this is like a completely different kind of animal.
Right. I get that, but if this is meant to be more satirical or representative of something, it could be that they're trying to say, for those of you who are from a mixed family, a family of two different cultures, that's who this guy is in a metaphorical way supposed to be, much like how Superman is I say Superman, let's go with X-Men, since we're talking X-Men recently. They're supposed to be representative of the X-Men are supposed to be representative of every group that's ever felt marginalized. Obviously, no one around here is running around with laser eyes and psychic abilities and stuff like that. And the ability to bend metal. But we understand from their point of view what it's like, because all these people are telling them you are somehow lesser because you're different. That's the illusion. That's the word I'm looking for. The illusion they're going for.
Okay.
What I think they're doing here. Is that having him be half human, half kaiju. They are giving an illusion for those people who are like, who maybe have a black father and a white mother, and they are half black, half white. The word I think is they're mulatto, but I could be wrong there.
Mulatto.
But there's a lot of these mixed families now where the children are half one race, half another race, and you can't when you just have a Latino protagonist or an African American protagonist or a white protagonist or any other sole one race protagonist, it can feel like maybe they're thinking, maybe the artist was thinking, we've got a lot of the diversity has gone this far with all the solid races, for lack of a better term. What about those who are in between?
Okay.
That's my theory, and that's
Okay.
how he's trying to show what this to talk to those sort of people. Say, here is a hero for you, someone who's from half one world, half another.
Okay.
And having to merge those. Granted, in his terms, it's the human world and kaiju, where he is the prince of all kaiju.
Yeah.
And with that hair, I'm guessing he should have been renamed Vegeta. But the prince of all kaiju. That's my theory. I understand if you don't agree with that, but that's kind of my thought there.
Okay, I do appreciate.
Granted, I will agree with you. In this movie, they don't speak to it very well.
No, they don't. And
had we gotten more of a series, they might have had more of a chance to. But
Maybe.
in this movie specifically, they really didn't do a good job with it.
Oh, I agree. I completely see your point. I do agree with your point. To be like, the idea of using more diverse characters and using like mixed heritages or what have you.
Mixed heritage, that's what I couldn't come up with.
Mixed heritage. But it's like, I totally get it. But with the way they played this movie out, the way they play the angle of the half breed of character, it just comes across as like, okay, you're just half human, half monster, and everyone's terrified of the other half.
Right,
and I get where you're coming from.
Yeah.
I totally get. I am not dismissing it at all. I agree with you.
Yeah. You just wish that either they would have done it better or not done it at all.
Yeah, exactly.
And like I said, the only thing I would say is maybe we would have gotten more of them being able to work towards that in season 1.
Yeah.
If we'd gotten a full season.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we didn't.
Yeah.
So this is as far as we got. Because this already feels like television pacing in this film. Like, this is obviously story 1. It's the origin story. But anyway.
Yeah. All right. So, that is my second. Did you already take your second?
I have not done my second dislike yet.
Go for it.
My second dislike for this is... I can't think of the guy's name. Barnes? The gym teacher turned secret agent.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is he starts off being the supportive, I'm your connection to this. I'm keeping an eye on you. And he even feels like he's manager. He even feels back at the very beginning that he's going to be a mentor for this kid.
Yeah.
A father figure when his father has been out of the picture for the most part.
Yeah, 16 years.
For his entire life. And the minute Belloc shows back up, he's no longer a mentor, he's the human villain.
Yeah, that's true.
Why? I mean, granted, like we continue saying, had we gotten more, there could have been more to that relationship. And for this story, he needed to be the human villain. And we're only going to touch a little bit on that mentorship because obviously Barnes has a thing for Duncan's mom. That's obviously there.
Yes.
And even though it's not reciprocated at all. But I hate that we went ahead and turned him into villain.
Agreed.
Right off the bat, right as soon as the story really got going. And it's like, really? You could have done some more interesting things with this character. Get this idea is like, all you've got to do, it's very simple. This guy doesn't like Belloc and is trying to protect Duncan from Belloc's influence. Not because he hates, he's got a thing for Duncan's mom. Probably does still, even in my version. But get that thing. It's like, I like you, kid. And I won't admit it, but I do see you as a son, and I'm trying to protect you from the deadbeat dad who wants to get back into your life. Granted, I don't think Belloc in this is meant to be a deadbeat dad. I just think situationally he couldn't be there. There's not much he could have done about it.
Yeah, agreed.
And he's only doing this now because, quite frankly, he doesn't have a choice because he knows his son actually needs his help.
Yeah.
And so I just hate that this character who could have been a secondary father figure for Duncan is immediately villainized.
Villainized. Yeah, I get it.
You want a villain? Make the principal the villain, because he's already going to be a villain, getting onto him for being late to class and destroying the school gym when he had to go fight the kaiju. You're already going to have that trouble. Why make this undercover gym teacher who works for the organization trying to help you? Why make him the villain?
Yeah,
I don't get that.
Fair.
So yeah, that's my second dislike. What's your third?
My third dislike, it's the cliche of the bully. They're gonna be. I've never liked bullies at all as characters. Sometimes you can do a really, really good character who goes from a bully to an actual protagonist.
Yeah, it's called a redemption arc.
Yeah, exactly.
Troy is not on that arc.
No, he's not. And plus, again,
he could be if we had more. But he is so far not on that arc that I can't see him being on that arc.
Yes, and it's the same old cliche that the new kid gets peed on, who gets picked on by the school bully. He's just relentless about it for no reason other than that. Be like, he likes the girl that he previously was dating, or that entire relationship isn't really crystal clear on what the
he liked her, but she really never liked him.
Yeah, it wasn't exactly reciprocated.
Yeah,
but
he's too stupid to realize.
Yeah, exactly. He's the jock of jocks who's just likes to pick on everybody around him, and again, be like, I have never been a fan of bullies at all. I got picked on when I was in high school, and now granted, I was the kind of kid be like, you picked on me, be like, I'm not going to put up with it.
Yeah,
I'm going to put you in your place.
But you didn't have bullies for long.
No, I didn't. I had the typical guy that would come up and just tease me about crap or try to just give me a hard time, but I've never really had like bullies that long. But I feel bad for it because I know my younger brother Jim was notoriously bullied. A friend of mine that he was tormented by bullies. And so the idea of be like you put this jock bully in there, and it just be like there's a part of me that just gets riled up about it in some very small, minute way, and it's a very prototypical, nothing different, cookie cutter. I'm the bad guy. I just want to be mean for mean's sake, and there's no real drive except for be like, you like my girlfriend. I'm just gonna pick on you about that. I'm gonna make your life a living heck.
Yeah.
And it's just like, really, can we do something else? I understand, be like, you just want to put a bully in there, but if you're gonna put a bully in there who's just like, now granted, we do in this movie, for lack of a word, do get more of a sign to come that maybe Troy is maybe like his dad, maybe abusive. I don't know.
Yeah, that's the thing, is he has potential to actually be an interesting character,
but we never
in
get
this
it.
Universe.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, because that is obviously a near the end of season 1 event where we would learn something like that. We've got to cement him as this is a character you're supposed to hate, so that we can make you like him later.
Yes. Which is very annoying.
Which we've seen 100 times. Now, granted, for this type of story they're telling, they do need a student villain.
Yeah. Agreed.
And Troy is meant to be that role here.
Yeah.
But right now he feels like comic relief.
He does.
Very poor comic relief.
Very, very poor comic relief. And I wish they would have made it more of a dynamic or something like that. That he's not just the stupid jock who picks on people.
Yeah.
Made it more interesting. Maybe he's the popular kid, but it's just like, come on, do something different. Or to quote,
if you're going to go down this route, there better be a good twist at the end of it.
Agreed. And there really isn't.
Not in this film.
Not in this film. No. There's the quote I like to I always think of from Terry McGinnis from Batman Beyond: Return of the Joker, where he's confronting the Joker. It's, oh, come on, lame, drop your pants, do a bone buzzer or something.
Yeah.
Main material. Do something different. And I think it's what you should do with the. Don't do the typical, like, I'm bully for bully's sake kind of character. I'm popular. I'm the jock. I'm dumb. Just do something different. Mm-hmm. Make it where it's like, maybe it's like underhanded or something. I don't know. But just the cookie cutter school bully, just, it's like, do something different.
To me, and this is actually going to lead into my third.
Okay.
It's like, to me, the problem is because this is meant to be the pilot for a television series that unfortunately the series never got made. All the characters are two-dimensional.
Yes.
Not physically, obviously, but in terms of character development. Now, granted, for a long-running TV show, they've got to have eventually get depth. And you do at least need to very quickly go, okay, this is who you are. This is who you are. Your main character gets a little bit of more shading, admittedly. And that is the case here because Duncan's got a lot more shading. He feels like a fully realized character. Yes. Kenny and Isabel, they've got not quite as much shading, but they've got some. Jenna doesn't get any shading until like near the end, where she actually seems like she's going to be an interesting character. Troy gets no shading. He is still a flat two-dimensional character.
Yes.
The other Barnes has the same problem, and Belloc. Well, granted, I get what would have happened here. Belloc would have been in every episode, so that when Duncan needed to talk to his father to get advice on how to defeat the kaiju of the week, because that's kind of how this would have gone. It would have been a kaiju of the week story. He would go and talk to his dad, and his dad would give him this important life lesson, and then he'd go and kick kaiju butt, and rinse and repeat. I've nothing against that concept because that could be done very well, but his dad's the only kaiju who feels like they are a fully realized character too. I get that Astaroth and Abaddon, if that was that's that guy's name.
I think so.
I get that they're meant to be the monsters of the week for these 2 episodes. They're probably never going to show up again, or if they do, it's going to be like the episode where it's like 5 past kaiju team up on Duncan in the season finale. Say, here's your 5 worst enemies. You have to figure out how to defeat them without killing them because you're not going to kill. Or maybe, because this is Cartoon Network, they're not going to kill anybody. They're not even going to destroy them because Saban only destroys them. But it just feels like almost every character in here, like some of them are shaded better than others, but they're all so flat.
Agreed.
They have not. There's an appearance, a possibility, a hint that there is more to these characters, but we never get to see much of any of it. We never get to get the idea of like. And granted, like I said, I know it's because that would have been stuff that would have gotten fleshed out over the course of a 24-episode season.
Yes.
I get that was their thinking when they made this, but unfortunately, I have to review this as a film because that's what it's presented to me as. I need more here. I need to know that this is who this character is, that there's more to this character than I'm the angsty teenager who happens to have kaiju powers and is trying just to get through high school like a normal human boy. I'm sorry, I've seen that before.
Yeah.
Do something more with it. Give me a hint that there is more to it. Yeah, I know you might show that later. And this may just be a thing that's bugged me about a lot of Western cartoons from the last 20 or so years.
Yes.
They don't start off with any idea that these are fully realized characters. They always feel like it starts off with, here's the tropes, we'll flesh it out later.
Yeah.
Flesh it out before you give me your first episode. Yeah, I know that's not how it's always gone, but I'm a child who grew up with the original DuckTales. You knew who all those characters were. Granted, they had time to work that out because, they'd been making Donald Duck and Scrooge McDuck and Huey, Dewey, and Louie stuff for years. So Darkwing. Here's a character who never existed before they made that show. He literally exists as a Disney's making fun of Batman. That is literally what that is. And yeah, you can tell it very quickly. But you know what? From the first moment, Darkwing is not Batman. He's not even just a jokey Batman. He is his own character. He is fully realized. They did so much work with this parody that they could have just been here's Darkwing fighting a Joker analog and been done with it. And I could have, and that would have probably been fine. But they didn't. They actually made good stories. I'm not saying this is a bad story. I'm saying you are they're so focused on the serialization that it ruins this movie.
Agreed.
Because they're going to say, oh, we'll flesh that out later. Flesh it out before we start. You don't have to tell us stuff. But I should go and look at these characters and go, okay, there's obviously trauma here. More than just the standard stuff I would have guessed from a father who's been away and you feeling like a child of two heritages. Give me a feeling that actually affects you, dude.
Yeah.
Because honestly, it doesn't feel like it affects Duncan.
Didn't really.
I mean, yeah, it affects him. We see evidence of it affecting him, but it doesn't feel like it's actually affecting him as a character.
Yeah. Because
they didn't flesh that part out in the lead up to in their story beats in this, which should have been, because this is based on an Image comic book. Granted, it's a short run comic book, I think.
Yeah.
But I guarantee you that comic book had that character fleshed out. You should be translating that exactly so that your character here, along with looking like he's three-dimensional in art style, actually is is three-dimensional as a character. There should be a feeling like there should be a small feeling of, okay, there was life before this. And you can't say, oh, you got that flashback that shows there was life before this. No. Show me that this kid has had to deal with for the past all his life growing up, has dealt with the fact that he's not a normal human, that he's got scales. Don't imply it. Show me that this character feels like garbage.
Yeah.
Not because he is garbage, but because every school he's ever been to has treated him. Every student in every school he's been to has treated him like garbage, and he probably doesn't really want to go to school. This kid doesn't look like he's been picked on for being half kaiju all his life.
Yeah,
he acts like the jock.
Yeah, the guy. He.
I'm half kaiju, so that makes me horrible. I'm going to go try out for the football team now, and be the star quarterback. It's like, I get that this guy, that's what this character kind of works into, as being the star quarterback type of character, but for fighting monsters. I shouldn't feel like that's who that is when he's obviously supposed to have had a hard life up to this point.
So
I don't see the hard life.
Oh, I agree. Here's another good example. Smallville, the TV show that came on CW years ago. So you have Clark Kent, who's played by Tom Welling. Yeah. And Tom Welling does an amazing job as a character who feels like an outsider. He feels like he's never fit in. And he's got an overbearing father who is so concerned for his son's well-being that, don't do this, don't do this. So you have instead.
I just had a horrible thought, and all these Zack Snyder fans out there, I ask forgiveness for what I'm about to say.
Oh, no.
Man of Steel has the same problem. Continue. I'm sorry. That thought occurred to me. It's like,
dump.
I really need to piss off all the Zack Snyder fans right now.
But you have this. You have Clark Kent, he's the kid who feels a bit of an outsider. He's a little bit awkward. Like he wants to be the cool kid, but he's awkward, and he doesn't want to really show his powers. And this just feels like the jock who just shows up and everybody loves him. There's no, oh my gosh, like you said, like his past is like just full of rejection and people just like persecuting him for what he is and everything. But there's none of that.
Because that's the thing. As someone who was picked on a lot in his early life because of his largeness.
Yes.
As I have always been a rather large kid.
Yeah.
Right? Pound for pound, ratio for ratio, I'm a lot bigger now than I was as a kid.
Right.
But I've always been a round, rotund guy, and I was made fun of. And some of that, I'll admit, I brought on myself.
Yeah.
But I should be feeling some connection to this guy for the kid being picked on all his life and all this, and then I should be getting something.
Yeah.
I don't feel any connection to this kid. I do not feel like I relate at all to this character, despite the fact I should. In terms of people who feel like they've had a hard life, I feel more connected to the X-Men than I do to this kid.
That makes sense. And
honestly, it should be about the same. And I just don't feel any connection to this kid.
Agreed. It's
Sorry, I interrupted you.
Oh, no worries. It's a character who it's like there's this air that's there, but it's not really fleshed out. He's the cool, and good-looking dude that everybody just instantly starts to like. And like, okay, so for me going back into school, because I went to homeschool for 2 years, and now
so you have a better idea because you're actually had to start going to school with people you really probably didn't know at a late age. Me, I was a 13-year kid. There are kids who went to my school I knew since kindergarten.
Yeah. So well, I'm okay. Bad example.
I'm actually saying you're giving a better example.
Yeah.
Because you were homeschooled for a while.
Yeah, for 2 years.
And then you got put back into public school and had to figure out how to deal with all the social anxieties.
There we go. That's a better idea.
Of high school. What was it, high school or junior high when you came back?
It was junior high.
Almost, probably worse than high school.
Probably worse. Yeah. Agreed.
You had to come back in junior high and try to figure out how to be, how to navigate all these social mores and circles with a bunch of kids you never knew, and you hadn't been around a lot of that up until that point because you'd been homeschooled.
Yeah.
And still go through school and be a normal person, and you're just lucky you didn't have to also be have kaiju.
Yeah, that is true. In a very small way, I totally get that understanding.
You have a better idea than I do, is what I'm trying to say.
Okay, makes sense. But there's just, oh my gosh, Duncan just comes across as this character. It's just like, oh, poor pitiful me. Oh, let's go to school. Be like, oh, I'm gonna be the cool kid who tries to hide himself, and it'd be like you stand out like a sore thumb. You're the good looking dude. You do one cool thing, and everybody wants to be your friend.
Yeah.
And
I don't remember it ever working like that in school for anybody.
No, oh my gosh.
Even the popular jocks, it took a bit for people. It did not. You did not do that in one day. Also, homecoming is what, a week after the start of school.
I don't know, because
granted, it's not really sure. True, we're not told how long school's been in session, but
and jumping. I mean, like the fact that homecoming comes roughly around the beginning of the school year, roughly,
right?
But it's to be like, oh, we transferred to the new school and blah 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 to fit in to be normal, like. To be normal, I guarantee he was the popular kid, but he was the popular kid who's always angry.
Yeah. Here's another thing: the whole reason he gives her that stone is because they stole the money for the homecoming dance, and now they can't have the homecoming dance because they don't have the money for it because she kept it in her locker. Why didn't a teacher keep a hold of that money?
True.
Why was that not locked up in the office, in the principal's office, in a safe in the principal's office?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Why was it given to a high schooler at all?
Yeah. Yeah, it makes
sense. This should have been like, oh, we need to go buy balloons. Can I have can I have enough money to go buy balloons for this thing?
Yeah, and that's the worst thing ever because everyone knows it's in her locker.
Or here's a better idea. Don't have it be physical money. You give it to them. They deposit it in the bank. You need more money. You get it out of. You have a homecoming account. You don't give her physical money to keep up with. Yeah. What is wrong with you, school? The gist of this drama should not be the money for homecoming got stolen because a girl kept it in her locker.
Yeah.
That's not how school works.
No. Oh my gosh. It was give it to the teacher will hold on to it, it'll go in the office,
it will be safe.
Yes. Not in your locker where everybody knows where you leave the money every single day. Genius idea.
Mm-hmm. In school lockers, which are notoriously the worst locked thing in existence.
Yeah. And look how the character, like, I think it was Troy who popped it.
Yeah, it's Troy who popped it. The boyfriend pops it with just a card. It's like, what kind of... I don't even think the lockers in my school were that cheap. You still had to... It was a little bit harder to get into.
Yeah.
But they're still easy to get into.
Yeah, it was literally like he picked up the physical lock himself and just slid the card through the slot, and it came up, and it's just like, did you even lock your locker, Jenna?
If you want this to be realistic... have her having just got done with a donation, a fundraiser.
Yeah.
She hadn't gotten it to the teacher yet, and it was in her backpack that she sat down. Troy saw it and picked it up and walked away without her noticing it. That I'll believe.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Not, we broke into her locker because she was storing long term the money for the homecoming.
Which makes no sense. That makes no sense. I mean, like, ever since Troy... Like, here's another part. Like, Troy is supposed to be the boyfriend. Why in the world is he stealing her stuff? Because he wants to make a fun joke out of it?
He's not meant to be the boyfriend.
Yeah.
He's meant to be the evil ex.
Yeah.
Because he's going to be the evil ex probably by episode 3.
Probably.
If he ain't by the end of this.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, that's just who this character is going to be. He's the evil ex who's trying to get his girl back from the half-demon monstrosity that goes to his school.
Yeah. That's
his point of view.
Yes, his point of view.
That's who this character is supposed to be.
Yeah.
And... because he's not...
I think we're going on a tangent about...
We've gone off on a tangent. You pretty much finished your third dislike.
I have. What is your third dislike?
I already gave my third dislike.
Okay, well, never mind then.
Ratings.
What's your rating?
I'm giving this a 6.
A 6, okay.
It's not horrible.
No,
it's like we just said over and over and over again. It's got potential to lead into a good, fun series.
Yes.
Unfortunately, we don't have a series.
Yes.
So we only can judge off this one film. And because of that, it's got so many issues that I can't forgive it for being a failed pilot. So, for its funness, it's getting a 6. For everything else, it cannot go higher.
Agreed. I'm right in the same ballpark. It's a 6. Like, it's got great potential, minus its flaws, and could have done an original thing here and there, but kind of stuck with the status quo of how things go. But like, it's serviceable. It's interesting. I'd be like, if they would have continued as a series, I might have been interested in this.
Yeah,
but
unfortunately,
it didn't happen.
All we have is this, and by itself, this leaves some to be desired.
Yeah, exactly. If we would have got more,
yeah.
Now, granted, hypothetically, with most pilots, be like, use a large chunk of your budget.
Yes, but that's because you're creating like set pieces and character designs, which they would have done here, and I'm sure that a lot of that stuff would have gotten reused. There's probably animation here that would have been used for his transformation sequence.
Oh yeah,
that has a regular background on it, and it would have been edited into a static background for the actual show. And that's where a lot of this money would have been gone for.
Yeah.
So a lot of your stuff, especially with pilots, is meant to give you stuff to work with later, so you can save some money on the back end. And sometimes that is to the detriment of the actual episode itself. But yeah, anyway. I'm getting off on a tangent here.
You're good. You
have anything else to add?
No, like, this is This is a very interesting movie. Again, thank you, Edwin, for the suggestion or the patron pick. And if any of you want to participate in the Patreon pick, please go to patreon.com/Stillcast and sign up for the $10 level.
It's a $10 level.
$10 level, and
if you're listening to this on the audio thing, links in the show notes.
Yes,
the link is always in the show notes.
Yes,
if you're watching this live, I don't think it's there. I think you're going to have to go to the cellcast.podbean.com and look at show notes from a previous episode, but it is there.
Yes.
Anyway.
Yeah, that's all I got.
Well, I would say next week we're going to be reviewing a film.
Yes, but we're not.
We're not. I am not going to be here next week. And in our next actual episode, we're not reviewing a film.
No, we're not. We're doing something a little different.
If you remember in season 1, we used to have these discussion episodes that were the original reasons we had Cellcast Shorts. Unfortunately, that's how things changed.
Yes.
But we are going to have a discussion episode, mostly because we're getting into a busy section of our lives right now.
We are. Yes.
Somebody's getting married. And so that's made our scheduling a little hectic in these couple months right before it. We do have some more movies coming up, but because of the weird time arrangement, we had to do this. We're doing this now. But we're going to be looking at or talking about unmade, unreleased, not finished, things we only have like vague descriptions of, movies that were never made.
Yes.
Or either way.
Animated movies that
Animated movies, yes. And and that's going to be very helpful because I won't have time to watch anything. I'm going to try and make time to go watch The Sweatbox, which is the making of The Emperor's New Groove.
Yeah.
Which, if you don't know, there was that's the second movie that came out of that production.
Right.
There's not even a official script for that film. But there was an entirely other film that they made with those characters before that, and it never got finished because it didn't work. And I'm going to be watching that. Y'all don't have to watch that. We're not reviewing that specifically. But we're going to be talking about things like that we know of that were announced, that we know work was done on, and we never got to see they never got to see the light of day.
Yeah, exactly.
And this better not be the case for Coyote versus Acme. Warner Brothers. Zaslav. That's his name.
Yes, I'm aware. It's a great name, Zaslav.
It's a great thing to yell into a microphone.
That is true.
Either way, join us on our next episode for that. In the meantime, join us on the other side of these bumpers as we'll get to talking about what we've been watching, some news, and our last review of Spy Family before we all are taking a hiatus on animated series stuff.
Yes.
This podcast is a proud member of Culture Box. Whether you enjoy geeky reviews, comedy, or original fiction, you can open up the Culture Box and find something excellent for your soul. Point your web browser to culturebox.media.
I haven't done this one in a while. The Untold Podcast. The Untold Podcast is a speculative fiction podcast utilizing the genres of sci-fi, fantasy, and horror, among others, in order to engage the culture's imagination from a Christian worldview. Every month, Nathan James Norman produces and narrates a new story, presented in a unique and dynamic way. You can check out the Untold Podcast at untoldpodcast.com to listen and leave them a review. Cellcast would also like to thank the following patrons: Ashley and Francisco Ruiz, Book of Gaming, PaulJPowers.com, and the Monster Island Film Vault. If you would like to have your name shouted out on the show, special art from Jacob, and uncut episodes, along with, for a not much longer time, exclusive reviews of X-Men 97, which those will get eventually released onto the main feed just much later. You can donate to us on the $5 level, or if you want to do like this week's guest, Edwin Gonzalez, or he's not a guest, but this week's, if you want to have us review something that we're maybe a little slow at getting to for your liking, you can do like Edwin Gonzalez did and force us to watch a film within reason, as we always say, and that's at the $10 level. So go over to go into the show notes, click the link and for Patreon, and donate to us over there. So, Jacob, I have a question for you.
What have you been watching?
What have I been watching? So I watched I think it's the third episode of Part-Time Drifter. That's done by Brian Rafe. He was on our Akira show. No.
You always say it's Akira.
I always say it's Akira.
Like he's Roy or Paul.
Yes. No.
He was
in the Shell.
Ghost in the Shell.
He was in Ghost in the Shell. He was in a Ghost Step episode. He was there. And he's doing his own YouTube channel now called Part-Time Drifter, where he takes his van Serenity and drives around, drives here and there in Texas and has adventures with it. So if you want to go check him out, he's on episode 3 now. And apparently he had a blowout on a very dangerous highway. So yeah, go give his channel some love and check it out. Other than that, it has been listening to podcasts from hither to thither. And yeah, watching a lot of YouTube. That's about it. And watching a movie. But we'll get to that
in a minute.
We'll get to that in a minute. What have you been watching, listening to, and more often than not, probably playing?
Believe it or not, I have not played much.
What? See, it's not so. I will not go.
I had long days at work.
Fair.
So I was a little, even though I would come home and I had time to play, I didn't have energy to play.
Fair.
So what I ended up actually doing, I ended up watching a French Magical Girl show.
A French Magical Girl show?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
I think you've seen it too.
What would that show be?
Miraculous. The Adventures of Ladybug and Cat Noir. I know you've talked about it.
Oh, okay.
The girl with the blue hair and the red superhero suit with the black polka dots on it.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, that one.
Okay, didn't know it was. I didn't know it was French.
Yeah, it's French.
Okay.
Believe me, there's a couple episodes where it's obviously French. They're in front of the Louvre Pyramid or the Eiffel Tower, or trying to stop someone from stealing the French flag off of City Hall because he's trying to take back over.
Oh, that's too funny.
I started watching. I'd seen it before, so parts of it, but I thought to give it another go because, and this is going to sound horrible of me, I needed something to watch while I did other things. Something that if I looked away or got focused on something else and I didn't hit pause, I could come back to and figure out what I missed without too much work.
I gotcha.
That sort of thing.
Gotcha.
And I kind of figured this was going to be what that was, and for the most part, it kind of was. But also, they have actually put a lot of work into this show, even though it's still very obviously in the early budget stage of this show.
Fair.
There was a shot of, there's an episode early on. I think it's Time Breaker.
Okay.
Is the name of it, where the friend group is watching two of their friends race around a fountain.
Right.
And there's a couple of shots where you're not supposed to pause, but you do because you're stupid like me.
Okay.
And I think you can see this if you're not paused, but it's supposed to be you're not supposed to be focused on the cast in the background.
Right.
And they all kind of have that dead-eyed Joker. You remember in Batman the Animated Series when they got hit with the Joker gas and got that smile on their face?
Yeah.
Take the teeth out.
Oh, jeez.
That is what they looked like as they're all cheering, going.
Wow.
Like, I don't think that. I think you forgot to close their mouths, animators. Don't think I'm supposed. They're supposed to look like they've inhaled Smilex or whatever it was called.
Oh my gosh.
Like, oh my word, that will haunt your nightmares if you're not careful. But I've been seeing clips from later in the show because, of course, you start watching something on one thing and Facebook somehow knows what you've been doing.
Yes.
And it starts giving you Facebook shorts and YouTube shorts based on this. And so I've seen some clips from later on in the show where there's obviously some of our friend group has also become superheroes. And the animation quality goes up a lot. But in this first season, when they have no budget, when they have almost no budget, yeah, it's kind of obvious in a couple shots. I say that like we didn't just bash Firebreather for doing the same thing. But honestly, there was more. A lot of these characters are more they, like I said, they got a TV show. They had time to work who these characters out. They had time to work these characters out, and that was the bad problem with Firebreather. Anyway, so yeah, I've been watching that, and of course YouTube, like you do. I didn't get to any movies this week, except for the one we're going to talk about here in a minute.
We'll get there in a minute.
But that's, I think, about it. So why don't we get to the one we keep teasing?
Yeah. Kind of like a mini review.
Yeah, this is a mini Cellcast Plus in a way. We both got a chance to go with a group of our friends to go watch a film called Unsung Hero.
Yes.
And if you're if you have dealt with the world of Christian music in any ways, including just going to church and on a Sunday morning anymore.
Yeah, that's true.
Just because a lot of... Well, I don't know if Rebecca St. James songs have ever been done in a worship service I've been in. I know King and Country has.
Yes.
But I don't know about Rebecca St. James because I think she was not... She would have... I don't know. I could be wrong.
I don't know because like Rebecca St. James songs were primarily like a lot of her like hits came out like in the mid to late 90s, some of the early 2000s.
And that's really before you started getting the large influx of those songs making it into normal Sunday morning service.
Right.
But either way, we did get a chance to go see the movie about their family.
Yeah, which was
was actually a very interesting story.
Yeah.
Fun fact, I went into that movie, had no idea what it was about.
Wow, okay.
In fact, even when I saw the words a king country film, because it didn't have the "and" because it used their logo.
Yeah.
That annoys me. Sorry, as the graphic designer in me, that annoys me. I didn't make the connection that it was I didn't make the connection about King and Country because I don't normally listen to a lot of contemporary Christian that often.
Fair.
Outside of certain situations. So I didn't make the connection because it said for King Country or for King + country. I didn't make the connection that was King and Country. I didn't even know they had the word for in the front of it. And then I didn't make the connection, even though they said her name, Rebecca, so many times throughout the first half of this movie, and it was very obvious she was going to sing. I didn't make the connection that was Rebecca St. James. They even did a good job of hiding her grandfather's name.
Yeah.
Because that's where her
last name? Her stage last name comes from. I'm going... I figured it out about the time it says, well, yeah, I know who should be looking for our manager. I go, oh, that's Rebecca St. James, isn't it? And I didn't make the connection it was King and Country, it was the other two kids until the very end when they're saying, here's how their lives ended up. And we go, and these two kids who are always stuck waiting in the rings and stuck with each other are continued stuck with each other while they perform for King and Country. Very obvious. I know nothing about contemporary Christian music because it's just not a genre I listen to on a regular basis. Yes.
I literally had no idea. I was just going to thinking, oh, it's a Christian movie.
Yeah.
Couple of minutes in, oh, it's going to be like the Mercy Me film. I can only imagine because it's going to be based on. You got to have that one hit song that's going to blow up, and it's going to be a Christian song, and there's probably cameos from tons of different Christian artists, which I don't think any cameos from any other Christian artists were in this. A lot of people playing Christian artists who were not those Christian artists.
Except for Rebecca St. James herself. She's in the film.
The whole family is in this film.
I agree.
I think the only people who didn't show up in the film outside of the pictures at the very end were the mother and father.
Yeah.
All six siblings.
No, the dad was in it. He was in a scene shot.
I missed that. I still like the fact that in the scene where the baby is born.
Oh yeah, that's so
nurse who hands her to her mother is played by the actual person who was just born in that scene.
It was so meta.
It's like I'm looking going. I didn't even make the connection there until I get to the end. It's like, oh, and she's an actor, and they literally show that scene again and going, ha, clever. It's very clever.
Yeah, because I was like, okay, that'd be like, it's okay. This random actor shows up and they do this one little scene. I'm like, oh my gosh, she's the kid. She's the little one.
Well, I didn't even make the connection that the airline stewardess at the beginning was Rebecca St. James.
Yeah,
because she even turns to the camera like, hi, look, I'm in the film. Good day and hello from Qantas Airlines. And I'm going, am I supposed to know who you are? Because Rebecca St. James was before I listened to any contemporary Christian music. It was one of those names I know. Couldn't tell you a song she sang.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, fair.
I come in the 2000s when Newsboys and Third Day and DC Talk.
Yeah.
Couldn't think of their name.
Late 90s. Late 90s.
Well, 2000s is where I came, like 1999.
Gotcha.
I probably have, actually, I know for a fact I do have 2 CDs. I physically have 2 CDs with Rebecca St. James songs on them. One was Wow 1999.
Yeah.
And the other is the Chronicles of Narnia soundtrack.
Yes,
where all the contemporary Christian artists made worship songs for Aslan.
Yes.
I'm sorry, that's what that album is. It's contemporary Christian music where you replace Jesus with Aslan.
But it was such a good album.
It's a good album.
It's a good record. You know wrong.
And I pray no one ever sang those songs in a Sunday in a youth group service or a Sunday morning service, because yes, I know Aslan is supposed to be Jesus, but he's not Jesus.
Fair.
He's like, yes and no. No.
So,
but yes.
Going to the movie itself, be like, this is a very warm, loving, touching, not a very touching film. Be like, it's very well done. The fact that Joey Smallbones of King Country, be like, wrote it, produced it, directed it,
and convinced his whole family to show up.
Yeah. It was the dad in the movie. Yeah. I was like...
He acted in it.
He acted in it.
And I'm sitting there going, I need to look this up. Does he act normally?
He's done a few acting gigs here and there.
He actually does a very good job.
Oh, yeah. He was convinced. Oh, my gosh.
Especially when he was going through the depression stuff. It's like... It's like, I'm sitting there going, get up and do your job as a father, but I also understand.
Yes. The scene that got me the most with this film, it was so... They just came into America. They're at customs, and so the father, Joey Smallbones, is like telling the agent is like this and this and this, and he says it all like very Australian, very Australian. And he's just like, sorry, what did you say? The mom says it, and the agent says something. He just says something like a very foul word in Australian. She's like, what's your language, sir? He's like, what? You understand? You understand that? It was so like the movie tilted between like very heartwarming, want to rip your heart out with the emotion of the story, and then little funny moments here and there.
Mm-hmm. I still liked the part there where they're stuck in customs, and they ask him. It's like his name. It's like what's the father's name? I know it's Smallbone. But anyway,
hold on.
He says his name, and you use the word Smallbone. And it says, and no one would make that name up, right?
Yeah.
It's like, shut up. Shut up.
Smallbone?
It's like, it is an unfortunate last name. Yeah. I do agree. However.
However.
Shut your mouth. TSA doesn't care. Or customs, whatever.
But oh my gosh, it was like
they've been working hard all day.
Yeah.
They just got done with someone who probably smelled like feces. Shut up. You have a lot more trouble coming. Trust me.
Yeah, but like this movie is about a family struggle to make it. They had to leave their home country to come to America to make a better life for themselves, and their entire struggle to do that, and their belief in God. It'd be like it's not what.
I like how they didn't shove like a preaching moment in here.
Yeah, agreed.
Which was nice.
Yes.
So that's generally my problem with Christian movies is you have that one scene where it's like, and now here in plain English for those people who are too stupid to get it just from the story is the actual moral of this story, and it's trust God.
Yes.
We didn't get that here. It's like, okay, we saw it, and that was it. There was never a sit down and says, why aren't you listening to Jesus?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, one of those come to Jesus moments.
But usually in the Christian movies, it's not really that powerful to come to Jesus moment.
No, that's oh my gosh, some of the films. But like we're not here to review Christian films. That would be interesting though. But
I have issues with some Christian films.
I agree.
You can't tell.
I agree. But like the film itself is done so well. But like it's not an indie film. It's kind of an indie film, but it's not.
No, it was released by Sony.
Yeah, it was released by Sony, and it was released through Lionsgate.
Yeah, so it's like it had funding.
Yeah, it had a lot of funding, and it was done very well. And for a first-time director doing a big budget film, who wrote it, produced it, starred in it, like did amazing. And this is, and the scene that got me once I realized like who these characters are is like when they're doing the final audition with Rebecca, and they got the brothers who are the back and be like, man, I get stuck by you again. Be like, I'm gonna get stuck by you forever.
Yeah,
funny little. It's like, oh, that's Joey and Luke from King Country.
And I did not make this connection. I just thought these were the two funny kids.
Yeah,
who had not had much to do this whole movie because we were too focused on Rebecca
and the parents,
and the kid with the camera.
Yeah, that is true.
Because that's literally the only characters I was every couple seconds like, oh, and the kids with the camera again. The old crappy VHS-C. We had that camera.
Okay.
I swear we had that camera. The only thing we didn't see out of that kid was him having to take the tiny little VHS tape out, put it in the regular VHS adapter to plug it into a VCR, probably because they didn't have any of that.
Probably not.
For half the film.
Yeah, because that kind of makes sense now, because like you have this kid who's running this camera the entire time.
Yeah.
And a family who has barely anything, and at one point where I think it's like Joey. I think it's like the kid, the character Joey is asking for batteries. They don't have batteries, but you have batteries for your camera
and tape. Do you know how expensive VHS tape was at that time?
Yeah, back in the cheap. It was early 90s,
and this was a not a regular VHS camera.
Yeah.
Camcorder. This was the one with the small, what I call VHS-C, because that's what it was called. It was compact VHS.
Yeah.
It had one reel and then a flywheel on the other side. It worked. Don't get me wrong. Well, I say it had a flywheel. It had a little gear that's crammed back up in the thing.
Yeah.
To take up the other reel, but still.
Yeah.
It's like it worked, but at the same time.
Agreed. But overall, I enjoyed this movie so much. It was one of those, like, there was points where I was like, I'd be like, I'm not going to cry at this movie. I'm not going to cry at this movie. It's a really good movie. But it'd be like, man, this scene's going to kill me. But overall, I thoroughly enjoyed Unsung Hero. It's done very well, executed very well. Story's absolutely beautiful. Like Drew said, it wasn't one of these. They stop at the middle of the movie to do their come to Jesus moment.
The altar call. That's really what it usually is the altar call.
Yeah, it's an altar call right in the middle of the story.
We're in a movie theater. There's not a preacher down here. Just get on with the film.
Yeah, tell your story. Now, I had a very interesting conversation with a friend of ours, Wendy, who just loves Christian films, like any Christian film. And
that's fine. We just disagree.
We just disagree with her. Be like, but I understand her point where, be like, you have a faith film like unsung hero, where you have faith elements, but like you may talk about Jesus, you talk about pray, but it's not the focus of the film. But when you have a Christian film, be like that's supposed to be the focus of the film. You're supposed to, like have that come to Jesus moment. But I disagree with it.
I get that. The problem is they're shoehorned in every time.
I agree. They are.
The whole movie comes to a stop.
Yes.
The one I liked how they handled it was Case for Christ.
Okay.
As I saw that film, I thought, oh, this is actually a good film. And yes, it does have the altar call in it. Well, I say the altar call. It's got the point where he finally, after being an atheist and coming up with all these reasons, talking to all these people, trying to find how, Christianity can't work, and comes to the realization that it has to. He does have that moment, and it's very emotional, and it does feel like, and now it's your turn at the end of that. But does it better than so many others where it's like, and now you have to come to Jesus. Here's where we pass out the books. Here's where the study guide's going to come in.
Yeah. It's more often than not, it's kind of like this very forced scene right in the middle of the movie.
Yeah. It's that point where it's like,
that kills every momentum you had, and it's like the scene in Frozen where Olaf shows up.
Yeah, it's almost like the director who put in so much work to put in drama and stuff, and the writer who did all this work had to step outside of the room for a moment, and the preacher came in and says, "Okay, here's what we need you to do." They'll come back in. We're not going to show the director this. The editor is going to just cram it in here at the last minute. No one's going to know about it until it's put on a screen, and that's kind of how it always feels. It's like every creative person who worked on this film stepped out of the room for the altar call.
Yeah, that's what it feels like most of them.
And it never should feel like that.
No.
That should be part. If you're going to have that, make it a part of the story. That's all I'm asking.
Yeah.
Don't make it feel like this is the point where you're supposed to be giving your life to Christ in the movie theater.
So I remember because we're going off a tangent here, but I remember seeing a part of a movie called Fireproof.
Fireproof is one of these films, by the way.
Yeah, one of these films where it's literally
it was one of those.
Yeah.
I haven't seen Fireproof. It's one of the other films in that series.
Yeah, but I saw like a clip of it, and it's just like Kirk Cameron, he's doing his thing, and then all of a sudden it cuts to a backyard scene. And it's like he's talking to his father with like they weren't talking in the last scene.
Yeah.
And it's just like this come to Jesus moment. Like, where did this come from?
Yeah.
It always comes out of nowhere, comes out of the blue. And I know some people who are just like, yay, we got to do this in the movie, yay. And then all the movie people in here, it's like, really? Like, you had to stop the film right in the middle to do this.
And a part of me...
It makes no sense.
And a part of me, as a Christian, looks at that and goes... Is that actually bringing anyone to Christ?
Yeah.
Is that actually really helping much?
Yeah.
It might be. I don't know.
Right.
People have become Christian, have gotten the point nailed home and become Christians many different ways than I care to understand. But I look at it and going, why did this whole story get sacrificed for this 5 minutes that feels like it has no agency, and it feels like it has to be there because it's a Christian film?
Yeah, I agree. This
is why I'm generally a little hesitant when it's like, oh, we're going to go see a Christian film.
Yeah. And like you pointed out before, there was I Can Only Imagine. That movie was done beautifully. I mean, like, it's a great film. I own it. It's great.
Yeah, and it has an altar call moment, but it fits into the story.
Yeah, it fits in the story.
It's never that point where it's like the story and the movie and the film come to a screeching halt, so we can have this one scene, and then we're back in the film like nothing happened. Or I don't say like nothing happened. Obviously, there was a change in the character, but it feels like it was filmed differently.
Yeah.
Doesn't feel like it's in the same movie.
Yeah. So like in that same breath, be like they do kind of a altar call in a way, but they don't like go into like 5 minutes of trying to share the gospel. It's like, hey, Dad, let me tell you about this. Yeah. And then they kind of cut away, and you see the change in the father. I know somebody be like, went to the movie, paid good money for the film, be like, I liked it, but they didn't share the gospel enough. I'm like, you got a great film out of it. You got, be like, guarantee people probably ask questions about that.
Sometimes that's all you need is they just need to. Someone goes, I want something like that. I should go talk to somebody who maybe knows about this sort of stuff. Yeah,
exactly.
Sometimes that's all you need. It's seed planting.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what? Those moments we talk about. You know what it reminds me of?
What's that?
There is an episode. It's not a good episode of Star Trek: The Next Generation.
Okay.
Of course, I'm bringing Star Trek up.
Of course.
But there's a moment where it's in the first season of Next Generation. Do you remember that episode we watched where of Lower Decks, where they went back to that planet that Picard had left?
Yes.
Okay, that episode that when Picard left.
Yeah.
He leaves them, dealing with the drugs, right? Mm-hmm. Well, poor widow Wesley Crusher doesn't understand why anyone would take drugs and it would alter their sensibilities. And very after-school PSA
yes.
with Tasha Yar. You don't even know who Tasha Yar is.
I do know who Tasha Yar is.
Yeah, she dies in episode 8, by the way. Mm-hmm. So yeah, this was very early on.
Yes. And
she goes, Wesley, sometimes people need a release and an escape. Well, I don't understand. And I pray you never do. And it's like, he's 12. Tasha, back off. It's like, quit. You're not his mother. His mother is a couple decks below you and probably doesn't like you getting that close.
Probably. But I agree. It's got this.
I'm still looking at going, why is this scene? This is like the worst written scene in this episode, and this is not a good episode. And all of a sudden we have the back. What are you going to tell me next? That you're going to tell me about crack cocaine and that time when Mario tells you if you take drugs you'll go to hell before you die. All right, that's kind of what it felt like.
I agree.
And then I'm saying that, bring it back to my point. It's these kind of scenes that the Christians, that most Christian movies have them for and now he's going to become a Christian. Mm-hmm. It's like, because it always feels like whatever lead up they were doing was not going to that scene. Mm-hmm. It should be. The actual conversion in a Christian movie to actually accepting Jesus Christ as your personal Lord and Savior, that's the climax moment. In any other film, it would be. Mm-hmm. Why is it not in Christian movies? This has been a very short tangent.
Short? I think we've been at it for 10 minutes.
Why don't we go ahead and talk about the news?
Yes.
The Cellcast News with your host Jacob Heron.
That was the very worst segue I have ever done.
Oh my gosh. All right. Why, thank you, D-Lit. And if you can get rid of these wings, I'd appreciate it.
Try hot sauce? What are you talking about? Hang on.
Okay, that worked. How Chihuahua. Now, speaking of Chihuahuas.
Oh, good night. Don't tell me they're making a sequel to Beverly Hills Chihuahua.
No. Be like, no, it was. I can't remember when we reviewed this film. I think it was last year. It could have been the year before.
I know what you're talking about. That's even worse. This was the first movie. This was the movie we reviewed before the first Bad Movie Month.
Yes, we did.
Except this is a sequel. Why is there a sequel?
All right, so let me get into it. A homemade animated feature is ready to sink its teeth into the Australian cinema this summer, with Studio Cantor debuting its official trailer of 200% Wolf, opening Down Under on April 8th. On April. I'm looking at it says August. I'm saying April. August. The film is a sequel to the Australian-based Flying Bark Productions. 2020's 100% Wolf, which went on to gross $8.1 million in the global box office.
Is he gonna get bit by a werewolf and then have to turn into two dogs?
I've seen the trailer. No,
100% wolf?
no, it's weirder. Like go watch the trailer and just like, I know you probably don't want to watch the trailer.
I haven't yet.
Go watch it. It's just as weird.
That's saying something considering the original film.
Yes, agreed. All right, so going into a movie that was probably a lot better.
Oh, I just remembered something from what I've been watching. Sorry.
Oh.
I watched the rest of Knuckles.
Oh, how did that go?
It was actually a very good show. Knuckles is a background character in a television show named after him.
He's a background character?
I say he's a background character. He's a secondary protagonist.
Oh, okay.
He's there. Has a role. It's more about Wade Whipple.
Wade Whipple.
You don't even know who Wade Whipple is.
No, I don't.
You've seen him. He's in the first two films.
That's right. Yeah.
He's the deputy of
right.
of the Green Hill, Montana Police Department.
Yes.
Now, granted, the show is very funny. I sat there. Episode 4 is the highlight for me
Okay.
because let's just say rock opera made by the Lonely Island is in the middle of this, and they're showing how Knuckles became the hero he is today.
Oh my.
Yeah.
Wow.
And here's the best part for me. You won't care about this.
Okay.
But I'm watching that, and they're showing the monster he's fighting that they call the Flames of Destruction. Right?
Okay.
I'm sitting there going, that looks familiar. That's got to be a reference to something in one of the video games. But what is it? I don't know how closely you followed video game releases during the Xbox 360 era.
No, I didn't.
There was a game made by Sonic Team. It's a Sonic the Hedgehog game.
Okay.
Literally called just Sonic the Hedgehog. It was meant to be a reboot of the Sonic franchise. It was a very ambitious game. It looked like someone mixed Final Fantasy with Sonic.
Huh.
It released. It had poor reviews because the game was not finished.
Oh, that game. Yeah.
It features a scene where at one point for Sonic to turn into Super Sonic, the human princess of this kingdom kisses him on the lips. That's not creepy at all.
No.
But I'm sitting there, and I realize, even though I've never even gotten to the part of the game where we see this thing, I recognize it because I've seen clips. I recognize what I was seeing a paper mache, cheaply made version of Iblis, the main villain from Sonic 06, that is who everyone's trying to stop, even though they don't know it for 3/4 of the game. And I'm there going, so that you're telling me that Knuckles defeated the monster that destroys the world? That tracks.
Alrighty.
Sorry. Back that up. Continue on with 200% Wolf.
All right, so yeah, 2% Wolf. It will be debuting in Australia on August 8th. That's basically it. Now, going on to a bit more news with a movie that's far better. Kung Fu Panda 4, the latest adventure of DreamWorks animation ferocious hero Po, has reached $503.5 million in the global box office. Let's see, $318.5 million in the international markets. Let's give you a little breakdown. Box Office Mojo pegs the Universal Pictures release as its third highest grossing of 2024 movies worldwide, behind Dune Part 2, Godzilla x Kong, A New Empire. Let's see. Yeah, so apparently Poe is doing very well in theaters. So that's all I have for news.
And I don't think I saw anything else for the news.
No.
Spy Family?
Spy Family.
Bond. James Bond Jr.
Impossible. Call me Big Man if you wanna reach me. When you wanna face me, it's okay.
The man of Flintstone.
What an agent, what a squirrel. He's got the country in a whirl. What's his name? Shh, secret swirl.
Johnny Quest. Anybody want a peanut?
Mission 11, Stella. Directed by Toshifumi Akai and written by Rino Yamazaki. In this episode, in order for parents to attend one of the school gatherings at Eden College, their children must be Imperial scholars. Anya hates studying, so Lloyd comes up with a plan for her to get Stella stars by doing community service. New cast for this episode. Tyler Walker plays a dog.
A dog.
That's all I'm going to say.
A dog. Okay.
He's not named.
Yet.
No. He is not named for a couple episodes.
Really?
He does not have a name at this point, so that's why I'm just saying he plays a dog.
Gotcha.
Maybe best boy, but right now he's still just a dog. This this episode adapts chapters 16 and 17. Getting into the trivia for, and this is the end of the Stella Star arc.
That was quick.
Well, we're still at the point where they're doing like very quick story arcs.
Gotcha.
Weasel in this has a red bow. In the manga, it was pink.
Oh, okay.
Max's appearance in the manga, he runs into Damien, who is wearing a white t-shirt. In the episode, Damien hugs and pets Max in his school uniform. That's right, Weasel was Becky's dog, I believe.
Yeah.
Sorry, it took me a second. When Anya asks Lloyd for a dog as a reward, she is sitting on her knees, while in the manga, she is simply standing. When Yor envisions dogs hurting Anya, the blood effects in the manga are replaced by pink flash effects, likely for censorship reasons.
Makes sense.
Anime exclusive content. Yor turning on the living room lights and Lloyd catching Anya when she tries to run. 2 new assignments are briefly seen in the hospital sequence. One is a food tray delivery, which Anya failed because she slipped on a puddle and dropped the food tray, and laundry cleaning, which Anya also falls asleep. She fails because she fell asleep. And when Anya envisions achieving world peace, she imagines herself happily standing with Becky, Damien, and his friends, Henry, Yor, Lloyd, and Donovan. We didn't get to see that little imaginative scene in the manga. What are your thoughts on this episode?
Oh, it's absolutely hilarious. It's more hijinks of, oh my gosh, we've got to find some way to get more stellar stars or find a way to, because again, like you said,
Anya hates studying.
Anya hates studying.
She likes peanuts, but hates studying.
So she wants more peanuts.
Yeah.
And a dog for some reason.
Well, Becky gives her this idea.
Yeah, that's true. I wonder why. But I feel like it's a good episode.
I love how I do so much to not spoil something.
Yeah. And you know what?
There may or may not be anything to spoil.
But it's like you have this great where it's Anya is just having no luck. Be like, they go to the hospital. She just she goes to sleep. She winds up just like
she reads manga.
She drops trays, and the nurse on call is just like, be like, can you just leave? And then her telepathy. Her telepathy is like she hears this boy, drowning, and she's trying to get Twilight's
Lloyd.
Lloyd's attention. And
Her acting in that.
oh my gosh, it's like
It's like so obviously bad, yet everyone's buying it.
Yeah.
Like, oh no, that I really like to swim. I'm going to jump in the water.
Sure.
Oh look, there are bubbles.
so I'm gonna jump on the bubbles. But it's done so well, and then Lloyd just comes out of nowhere and just like saves the day.
Of course.
And it's a good episode. It's a very fun episode. And I'm pretty sure like all these episodes, there's something there's always a lead up to something like this character will come back as some kind of like agent or double agent or has some kind of tie to this organization that's trying to catch Lloyd, aka Twilight or something like that.
So just so you are aware for our notes, when I'm introducing new cast, anyone who I can tell is a minor character, I am not talking about.
Oh, okay.
Every character I've mentioned has at least a larger role than
Yes.
just being person who shows up in this episode.
Yes.
Sorry, continue.
Oh, we're good. Yeah, it was a great episode. I enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun. And yeah. Thoughts?
It is. They did. It makes sense that they needed, after she already had a tonitrus bolt, they needed her to get a star quickly because honestly, she needs all 7 before she gets out of this grade. Who knows how long they can actually keep the story going? And I say that knowing how much filler seems to be coming. I'm just going to say that. Not to spoil anything, but
Right.
there's a couple of times where it does feel like he wants to, the author wanted to continue the story, and his editor said, "Hold on, we need to milk this for as long as we can." There are moments in this where it does feel like that's what's going on in the background, and then the anime is just mimicking that, and the anime at times, I think, started running. Must have hit some. They're obviously trying to time stuff, and so they've had to put in some, not necessarily filler, but not necessarily major stories coming up. But yeah, getting her going ahead and getting a Stella Star, being the first in her class to get one.
Oh, yeah.
Is a good way to show that we are making progress, even if it's going to be a while before we make progress again. Plus, it's very obvious from the beginning they intended another main character dynamic was intended to be in here. They hadn't been. This is their way of making sure that character gets introduced, namely the dog. But yeah, that wasn't a spoiler at all.
No. Is it this episode or the next episode where Anya is Anya? Yeah, Anya, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Where Anya starts talking about a dog, or is it the next episode?
It's this episode, because when we get to the next one, it is legit filler.
Oh, okay.
This is it's not that this next episode can't happen. It's just it does nothing to push the story forward.
Fair.
This one, the first half is them saving the boy, and then the second half of the episode is them going through and trying to. They talk about getting the dogs, what reward she's gonna get, and literally it is setting up the second half of the season, or at least the next story arc of the season. Which then, because they had to take a break right after this episode, is why the next episode is kind of filler. But either way,
Makes sense. Good episode. Next episode.
yeah. Mission 12, Penguin Park. Directed by Toyoma Kitagawa and Daiki Harashina, and written by Daishiro Tanimura. In this episode, a trip to a local aquarium results in mayhem for the entire Forger family,
Of course.
as Lloyd is assigned a mission that is fortuitously located in the same place. Technically, according to the Spy Family Wiki, this is also part of the Stellar Star arc. I disagree. I believe this is filler and doesn't really belong in that arc. But yeah, whatever. This adapts Extra Mission 1 and Short Mission 1. In the manga, they have sometimes these little short stories that will come like to fill out a couple pages, where it's just these like very quick side tangents, and sometimes there'll be a whole extra chapter. The penguin part is the whole extra chapter. The aquarium is like another part of it. Like it's like, because it is doing two different ones here, but I remember it not being a major. It is in my manga, the copy of the manga I have over there, but it is very quick.
Okay,
and is not even at the spot here in the anime where it takes place. So
it's out of sequence in a way.
Yeah, it's not meant to be. This is meant to be a side adventure. Not necessarily, doesn't really matter where it took place, which is why so much of the beginning of this episode, for some reason, is here's everything you know from the beginning of the series. Here's the flashback on who all these characters are. It's like, this feels like what should be the opening of the second half, not the end of the first half. This should be what you're playing for the people who didn't see the first season and are now watching the next season, next half of the season. But whatever. But yeah, this whole thing with the penguin and the microfilm giving me flashbacks to Code White. Actually, that was the thing I noticed when I was watching this has got a lot of Code White in it. But anyway, I get to the actual trivia for this. This is the first episode that adapts the extra chapters with Extra Mission 1. The cold open introducing the subway lady is exclusive to the anime. All the previous episodes, Anya's door sign was spelled A-N-I-A. This is the first episode in which it's spelled correctly, A-N-Y-A. And they hold on that sign long enough to go, see, we fixed it, guys. Is really how that looked. Madhouse Incorporated actually participated in the production of this episode.
Really?
The Peanuts bag Anya is holding at the end of the episode is named Maze Koze Nuts, which, if one translates the Romaji half into English, the Maze Koze part, gives the name of the anime's opening theme song, Mixed Nuts. The bag itself is a reference to the cover of the song. The mascot character on the bag, who resembles the toy from Bonus Comic of Volume 1, also makes a reference to the band Official Hige Dandism, the band that performed the song. This is the final episode of the first half, which also makes it the last time the original intro and outro are used. When we come back from our hiatus and we start with the second half of season 2 or season 1, we'll have new intros and outros.
Sure.
In fact, there will probably be a different intro to this segment. Not a major difference, but there will be one.
Okay.
This is the first time that's happened in TAS. We've had this major a theme song change.
Okay.
So, what are your thoughts on this episode? This penguin-y episode.
Penguin-y episode. I mean, I enjoyed it because you have Lloyd. He's being pulled here and there, and he's got the. And then, like, the neighbors start gossiping about this. Oh no, we got to do something. And it's like, oh, we're gonna do this, and they go on this hijinks of the aquarium, and hijinks pursues, and apparently Anya gets a penguin plushie.
Yeah, giant penguin plushie.
Giant penguin plushie. Like
that's what it is. I'm sorry. The things at the aquarium were from one of those stories, while the mission with the giant penguin plushie and then going out is another story.
Okay.
Although they didn't use the giant penguin plushie in that short bit.
I got you.
Anyway, sorry.
Yeah, it's fun. It's a fun little episode.
Sorry, I had a brain fart. It's been a while since I've read that particular issue.
It's fine. It's like Lloyd is like he's trying to balance his extra spying with trying to keep up the cover, and it's working, but it's starting to fall apart in some ways. So he has to like build. It's like, oh, we need to do a family thing. So they go to the aquarium, and like you said, hijinks ensues, and the missions intersect, and he's trying to do both at the exact same time, and he's getting pulled everywhere. And Anya being Anya.
Yeah.
Good episode. Yeah, very good episode.
This is just a fun episode. This I call this the first real filler episode, because it doesn't push the story. Granted, we've had some like filler moments before where, like episode 5 with the castle event, where the manga did not go that deep.
True.
But the anime did, and it was glorious.
Yes.
This one, it's like very much feels like it was intended to be filler to get them an episode order, so they did not have to start. They didn't have to split a story arc between season halves. And I think it works good that way. We get good hijinks between the characters. I love how Anya gets her mom's attention. Help, my mom being kidnapped! I'm being sold to human traffickers! Like, Anya, you shouldn't know what those words mean! Because it definitely wasn't kidnapped. It was, I'm being sold to human traffickers.
Someone's gonna die.
It's like, oh my. The only problem I really have with this episode, how did nobody catch what everyone else was doing? Lloyd should have seen Anya and Yor. I'm sorry. But at the same time, I don't care. This was just such a fun. And the last part where they're going out to the candy store to get peanuts with the toys, I think it's just so cute and adorable. It's like, oh, that's nice. That gets me right in the feels. And this is kind of a disappointing way to end this first half, because bear in mind, we had to wait 6 months after this episode for the second half. We had to wait till September. This episode aired in May, and we had to wait till September.
Wow.
Say 6 months. It's probably closer to 3 or 4 months.
Yeah.
But still, it's like, this was a nice, calm way to end it, and then it was like 3 months of waiting for the second half of season 1. I kept calling it season 2 because in my mind it's season 2. As I clearly tried to say 2 or 3 times already.
You have.
But yeah, this was it was a nice way of ending this first half, even if it wasn't like major story bits. But yeah, next time we come back, which ourselves, ironically, we're kind of doing what Spy Family did, because we're not bringing these reviews back until August. We will come back with a certain apple of an episode. Where a new bond may be formed. Yeah, those were poor
yes,
puns.
Rough jokes.
He is best boy. I'm just saying. Borf. Anyway.
Borf.
Next, that's going to be it for us tonight.
Yes.
I keep feeling like next time, join us for. They're not a next time. We're not doing a TAS till August. So, I guess this has been Drew.
This is Jacob.
And we'll catch you in the next frame.
You can follow Jacob on his Facebook at Jacob B. Heron. His Facebook page, Jacob's Daily Art Corner, where he tries to draw each and every day. His Instagram at Jacob B. Heron. His Twitter at Jacob Heron. And his Letterboxd at Jacob Heron. You can find Drew on Facebook at Drew Dodgen. His Facebook page, Drew's Photo Bin, to see his photography. His Letterboxd page at GGeorge759. His Twitter at GGeorge759. And Instagram at Drew Dodgen. You can like us on Facebook at the Cellcast Podcast. On Twitch at the Cellcast Gaming. On YouTube at Cellcast. On Twitter at cast_cell. The Cellcast can be found at Apple Podcasts, Google Play Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, or anywhere else fine podcasts are downloaded from. Please rate and review us where you found us, and also on Podchaser. Email us at thecellcastpodcast@gmail.com. The Cellcast is a proud member of both the Pop Americana and Culture Box media networks. For more information, please see the link in the description. Our theme song is Drop and Roll by Silent Partner. And remember, that's Cell, with a single L.
Flaming hot peanuts.
Oh my word. Spicy peanuts. That's a spicy peanut.